Good afternoon and welcome everyone. We're going to give it a few minutes. We'd like to welcome you all to our Organizing Your B.A.I.L webinar series this morning, as we'll be featuring Mr. Adrian Wilcox, our insurance agent with State Farm. So excited about this conversation. We're going to give it a few minutes before everyone, so everyone can get in and get settled into the room. But welcome again. We'll get started here shortly. Thank you for being here this morning. Good morning and welcome everyone. Welcome into our virtual room for our Organizing Your B.A.I.L webinar series. We are going to get started shortly. We're going to give it a few minutes to let people get into the room and get settled. But thank you so much for being here. We'll get started here shortly. So good morning again, everyone. Welcome to our webinar series this Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for being here this morning as we have a very good, rich conversation with our insurance agent as we continue on with our Organizing Your B.A.I.L webinar series. My name is Sonya Bigelow-Smith, and I'm the director of our Capital Readiness Program, a 4-year initiative to empower small business growth and improve the capital readiness of small businesses. On behalf of our president and CEO, Sharon Roberson-Pender, we extend a special greeting for your attendance today. You all may not know that CRMSDC provides a host of resources. For example, we provide National Minority Business Certification for private sector contracting, matchmaking opportunities with many of our corporate members, and government contracting business development coaching by way of our Virginia MBDA Business Center located in Fairfax, Virginia. To learn more about everything our organization does, please visit our website at www.crmsdc.org. Once again, I hope you all have your brown bag lunch, a beverage, or a snack with you as we get ready for an engaging conversation this afternoon. Organizing Your B.A.I.L has been designed very intentionally to expose and reinforce the importance of having these professionals on your team: a banker, an accountant, an insurance agent, investors or funding options, and a lawyer. In fact, having an accountant on your team is crucial to properly grow and scale, as well as having an insurance agent to protect yourself from risk. Before we kick it off, let me start with a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and will be available to you within 24 to 48 hours. My teammate, Amanda Bill, our program coordinator, is standing by monitoring the chat today and will monitor the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Say hello to Amanda in the chat and tell her where you're dialing in from. So let's get started, and let me introduce you to our moderator today, Ms. Maria Randall. Maria is the president and CEO of LLADNAR Services, a consulting firm partnering with the Capital Readiness Program. And she is here today with many years specializing in assisting small businesses shore up their financials as they prepare to seek capital. With her years of experience as a banker, I am sure you all know that she has seen dozens of financial projections and loan packets, and is the very best person that we could have to help moderate this series. Welcome, Maria. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you, Sonya. How are you?
I'm doing very good. I'm doing very good. Good to see you today this morning.
Good to see you. Great to be.
Well, um, I am going to turn the virtual room over to you, Maria. But before I do, and before we get started with this session, please tell us a little bit about you, your background and experience, and how your journey got started.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you for the opportunity to do that. So yes, I'm Maria Randall, and I'm the founder of LLADNAR Services, which is really a small business loan advisory and consulting firm that I founded after about 25 years as a small business lender, most of that time specializing in SBA loans. And I assist entrepreneurs, like many in the audience, with, as you said, getting prepared to apply for financing, helping them to get that business plan together. So it's something that a lender would want to look at and be interested in going through, making sure projections are where they need to be in terms of saying what the business is going to do, and really just sharing kind of my insight and inside information, if I can call it that, as a lender with the small business owners to help them to be successful through the loan process. So I'm thrilled that we are doing this. I'm thrilled with CRMSDC and the Capital Readiness Program and being able to put this on. And I so appreciate the opportunity to moderate.
Right. Well, thank you, Maria, for sharing a little bit about you and your journey and some of the expertise that you provide. And I'm happy to let everyone know that Maria is connected to our Capital Readiness Program. So if you feel like you need the support and assistance, please stop by and let us know, and let's have a conversation of how we can further assist you. Now, Maria, I'm going to turn it over to you
All
and
right.
let you introduce our special guest, Mr. Adrian Wilcox, this afternoon. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sonia. And yeah, if you all have been with us through the prior weeks of the series, we've talked about some of the specialists that Sonia mentioned in the B.A.I.L program, and why have a B.A.I.L team? Well, these folks, these professionals, these experts can help you navigate the intricacies of business ownership. Everything from your financial decisions to your legal decisions, but to very importantly, protecting your business and protecting your business assets. So it's my pleasure to be joined today by Adrian Wilcox. Adrian has been with State Farm since 2013, and during that time he's owned his agency. No, come on, Adrian, we saw you. Come on in. Well, he's been able to help over 1,600 households and here in the DMV area. I know Adrian has mentioned he's licensed to provide insurance services in Maryland, in the district, in Virginia, and the full gamut, the full range of insurance services. So I'll let Adrian tell us a little bit more about his journey and what brought you into the insurance world, and how you help small businesses, and take it away with the information you've got to share, which I know is some good stuff. I had a sneak peek. Hi, Adrian.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Sonia. Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Maria, for moderating today. I'm
Absolutely.
excited to talk about small business. My journey is um, of the last 12, 13 years. I started my career in financial services. I graduated from North Carolina A&T with a degree in finance, and I thrust myself. I started working in corporate America. And fast forward, I worked in corporate America for many years. And quite frankly, I got tired of working for someone else. And I decided that I wanted to work for myself. So I chose to become a State Farm agent where I could develop my, my own feel for how I wanted to treat customers. And hopefully, in return, it would benefit me personally and also give me the gratification of how I treated customers. So that's my journey, and I want everyone to know I'm a small business owner, just like everyone on this call. So it's not like, I know people think about the big name State Farm, but no, it's just Adrian Wilcox Agency. So that's how it works. It's just a big brand, but I run my own small business here in Largo, Maryland, just like many of you.
That's
So
great for you to point that out. So I'll go and let you take it away from here. So interested in hearing everything you have to share, Adrian.
okay, great. Okay, Amanda, we can go to. Okay, everyone. My name is Adrian Wilcox. I am a State Farm agent here in Largo, Maryland. You can go to the next slide, Amanda. And my office services Maryland, DC, and Virginia. And we sell all host of products, but we're going to focus today on business insurance. You can take a picture of that. You can feel free to call my office, or you can call me personally on my cell phone. And my email is Adrian at Adrian Wilcox Insurance. So really quickly, okay, Amanda, next slide. I want to talk at a very high level, and then we're going to go into some details about small business. Small business, I would first say that a lot of times customers are hesitant to come to me or hesitant to pursue getting insurance because, quite frankly, they think it's very expensive. And really, it's not. I lead my entire territory, and I have over the last 3 years in serving business customers who are looking for business insurance because I take the time to explain to them it's really not that expensive. And then also, a lot of time people feel like they have to pay the entire premium. And simply here at State Farm, if for myself, you can pay it monthly. Simply take the premium that we are quoting you and you can divide it over 12 months. So it makes it very, very reasonable. Now, this slide I'm going to discuss at a very high level. And then most of the things that I'm going to talk about are components that are within your business policy. So I pulled out my own business policy as an agent, right? And I'm going to try to personalize some of this so I can curtail it um, to what you do in your business. But one of the first things that is covered in your business policy are your property. And this is the property that's owned by the business. So I am a State Farm agent. I'm sitting here on my laptop. I'm sitting here. I have my desk and I lease my space. So I don't own the building. So I don't need my building to be covered. But I do own personal and business property that I own myself for the business for us to work on. So if that is stolen, if it's damaged, those items are covered within my business policy. Okay. Second thing is liability. This is the most, I would say, the most important portion of the business policy because it's protecting you, the business owner. It's protecting you for the type of service that you're providing, right? So I'm a State Farm agent. So my team and we're discussing things with customers. If someone, simply put, if someone tries to sue you, this is where that is paid out. So you're covering yourself for if someone tries to sue you 500,000 and you only have liability of 300,000, well, where do you think that 200,000 is going to come from, the difference? I'm going to be frank with everyone on the phone. They're going to try to sue you personally if you don't have enough liability insurance. And I want everybody to think about that. The business that you're operating under is the business. How would you like for someone to sue you personally now? One of the ways you can insulate yourself, personal and business, is to make sure that you're properly insured for each of them. So I cover myself for up to $4 million a year. If someone tries to sue me, they have to get or sue me over 4 million before they are affecting Adrian Wilcox personally. So this is very important, and this varies based off of the type of business that you're doing. Most businesses that I take care of here in the Washington D.C. area is most minimum it's $1 million that most Government contractors require, leasing companies require, or even vendors require you as a business owner to have at least $1 million in coverage. Most of us, of course, use computers day to day. Your computer property is actually covered under your business. Okay, depending upon what type of business you're doing, equipment breakdown is also covered. So the revenue or the income that you lose due to equipment breaking down could be covered under your business policy. I have a great example of the next bullet point, loss of income. Okay, I have a customer who happened to call me just to say hello, and she told me, which I wasn't even aware of, that her business was she was shut down. She runs a restaurant up in Baltimore in Lexington Market. She had a leak that it wasn't her fault. It was a leak in the building, and she had to shut down her operation for 2 months. And then I said to her, you know that that's covered under your business policy. So here she went on 1 month, 2 months, paying out of her own personal pocket to pay the lease and some of her employees, even though she could not even earn revenue. She received a check back from State Farm because her business was shut down. She lost about $32,000 in revenue. We then sent her a check for $32,000 to cover the loss of income. All right.
It was a great day when she got that in the mail, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, she did, and she told me that she was saving it because she was actually buying a house here in Bowie. So
Oh,
she's holding on
excellent.
to that money. So next,
Excellent. Well, Adrian, before you advance the next screen, just a quick
sure.
question. Any reason why computer equipment is covered differently from other equipment in the business? I see that you had it separated out there, so I was just wondering about that.
Mhm. Business property, some policies lay it out just like that, Maria. You can have business property, desk. It could be a bunch of things. It's like personal property in your home. You don't list everything, the mirrors, the TVs, the furniture, your clothes. So it's just a bucket here.
Gotcha. So is it like a separate endorsement within your business policy that specifically addresses computer?
Yes. And you use a key word. So insurance is very detailed and specific. So Maria, you threw something in there, endorsement. So this isn't an endorsement. This is just simply something that could be included. An endorsement is something that you would pay additional for to add it to the policy. With our State Farm policy, there's already a line for a computer property, and you could actually add more or less. Okay.
Even better. Okay.
Right,
Thank
right.
you.
Next slide. Okay, a lot of people don't realize that money and securities, if stolen, are covered under your business policy. So, um, I say this in full disclosure, we don't keep cash here at our office, right? But assuming like if I was accepting a bunch of cash from policy holders, and let's say $1,000 was stolen by someone on my team, or if a customer picked up an envelope, that would be covered under my business policy. I could put a claim in and then get reimbursed for it. Signage is also covered. So here I am, a State Farm agent. If I have a sign that says Adrian Wilcox Insurance and Financial Services, if that's damaged, if it's damaged or stolen or broken, that's a limit that State Farm would cover, or most business policies will cover as well. Account receivables. We all typically have account receivables that are outstanding or uncollected. That's also covered under your policies. So particularly if you are a restaurant or someone that does a lot of receivables, I have this in my policy, but it's not applicable to me because State Farm handles all of the receivables. So it depends on your business of how it actually would affect you. It may not affect you at all. Seasonal increases. So if you keep inventory on your shelves, it automatically goes up and down. You have a seasonal increase, so you don't have to keep going back and forth to your policy saying that, well, I have 50,000, but during a particular season, if it jumps up to 75,000, instead of your rate changing, your 75,000 is automatically covered for your business property that peaks during various seasons. Next slide, Amanda. Now, Maria, I wanted to kind of point out some of the things you mentioned. This is like more customizing your business policy. These are some other line items that would be included as well. Utility interruption. So if a utility line or a gas pipeline burst in this building and my team and I could not physically work here, and I lost, let's say, 50,000, 75,000 over several months before the building is ready, that would be covered under your business insurance. And I think most of us would think about that, right? That's worth having a business policy. That's why I don't want anyone on the phone call to be intimidated or to be uncomfortable. If you don't have business insurance, it doesn't cost you anything just to get a quote. And then you can really see what it really is going to cost you. The next one is very important, particularly in this technology environment that we're in. People are always compromising our information. I got a letter from the state of Maryland that they sent out the wrong W-2s of individuals throughout the state. Someone else's W-2 ended up at my home. That's data compromise. So guess what? They sent me a free credit monitoring service because the state of Maryland messed up. If you were responsible for that in your business, you have a huge liability. Your policy would cover you for that. Okay. Data compromise and also identity restoration. So if something happens, they'll pay up to a certain amount to restore and to clean up your credit if someone ruins your credit as well. Okay. Employee dishonesty. Most of us will have employees, right? So if one of my employees is dishonest and they steal from Maria or take something from Sonya, it's covered under my policy. If Maria or Sonya came back to me, it will be covered under employee dishonesty. And each one of these do have certain limits that would be covered, specifically highlighted under your business policy. This next one, backup, sewer, and drain. Most of us know this coverage from your homeowner's policy. But most people miss this under business. Why? Because we may not own the property, right? Think about it. Some of us lease. I've been in this building 6 years in Largo. I don't own it. But if a backup sewer drain occurred in this building, they're not going to refund me anything. They're going to say, well, Adrian, did you have that under your business policy? So instead of me leaving it to my leaseholding company, I want to make sure that it's covered for myself. I like to mitigate my risk. So I like to make sure it's covered. So this is something that's offered as well, that if something occurs, backup sewer and or drain is and will be covered. I like to talk about this around business and also home. Be very mindful, like from a homeowner's perspective, you could have a sump pump, right? So some people would call this sump pump coverage. But keep in mind, a sump pump takes water away from your home. And if it fails and it backs up into your home, typically that would be covered under a homeowner's. But the worst thing about this one is I'm quite certain none of us want sewage backing up into your business. That's why you want to make sure this is covered. That's the last conversation I want to have with any homeowners or business owners that we didn't add this to a customer because they have some sewage backing up into their home. So it's very important. Okay, Amanda, next slide. Now here's some other high-level items that I recommend, or different types of coverages that are covered for business policy. Some people on the phone may have a business automobile that can be covered. And you want to make sure you try to separate them because you're personal and your business. Workers' compensation. Here in the state of Maryland, you're required, if you have staff, you are absolutely required to have a workers' compensation policy. How is workers' compensation policy? How are those rates? Workers' compensation ask a couple things. They ask, what does your staff do? And what's their compensation annually? Those are those three buckets. There's a rate, and what happens is if someone gets injured, your policy will pay around 66% to your employee. So I say that and pause, but it's very important for everyone on this call to realize if you have a space and you're the business owner, that that space remains safe for your staff, because you're the one they're going to sue if they trip over something. If they get injured on the job, they're not going to try, they're going to be trying to collect directly from you and your workers' compensation policy. The next one is a commercial umbrella policy. So I always like to do this as a visual. So we all know the shape of an umbrella, right? Like this, right? That's what an umbrella policy is. You have a business policy that has, again, going back to my example, I have $1 million worth of coverage under my business policy. If I have an umbrella policy, once the limits are met on your business policy, the umbrella policy kicks in and covers you an additional million or 2 million, up to $10 million. So once you're exhausted under your first business policy or auto policy or even workers' compensation policy, because they all have limits, your umbrella policy would then kick in. Okay. That's not that expensive. Again, it just allows you to provide another cushion to protect you as the business owner. Surety bond, I don't come across these a lot, but a lot of us on this phone may do contracts. And guess what? They want to make sure, there you go, surety bond, that the insurance company is going to guarantee that the work you perform is going to be done. Okay? There's other types of bonds like fidelity bonds and other bonds, which are needed as well. But a surety bond or bond in general is just guaranteeing that the obligee, you, and the principal is going to pay that bill if the terms are not met. And a lot of times when you get in a bond, they're going to run your credit. They're going to review your credit to make sure that you have a decent background and it won't be a risk for the insurance company to insure what you're doing as the business owner.
Adrian, that was about to be my question, examples of when folks might need a surety bond, but also what's the process or how it differs from getting any other kind of insurance.
Another way to look at it is, a lot of us live in communities where we have homeowners, right? Where we pay a homeowner's policy, or you might be on a board of directors. That's another form of a bond. If you're performing something in the homeowners association and one of the directors takes some money, the bond would kick in, right? But each one of those directors possibly have to fill out an application to look at their background, their familiarity as well. So it's different forms of bonds, and it's different based on the company, Maria, listening to your question, based on the company, they have a different application process. Okay. Next slide. Now, I wanted to talk about this and show this, of course, horrible picture. And I was testing my team earlier today, and I want to role play and have everyone start thinking through. We go through a lot of disasters now, not just weather, could be riots, could be fires, could be a lot of different things. So my question is your business prepared for disaster as we go through the next couple slides? And if you have an insurance policy, it could help you through these challenging times. Next slide, Amanda. So consider this. I gave my team a test this morning. We're here in the DMV area. We're very familiar, maybe most of us are familiar with two examples. The George Floyd example, right? When George Floyd was murdered in Minnesota, and millions or thousands of businesses were lost, right? And if everybody could chat in the chat, give me an answer. Were those businesses covered under their insurance policy? When damages occurred, even in a Freddie Gray in Baltimore when he was murdered, were those businesses covered? I see one answer says no. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Randall said yes. Okay, 50-50. Anybody else? Break the tie. If they had coverages, yes. Okay. The answer is yes. Under a business policy, it's covered by the perils, fire, right? And in general, you can write this down, but I'm going to tell you what a peril is. Perils are things that affect you that are out of your control. That's how insurance claims are paid. Perils, P-E-R-I-L-S, right? So what are things that are out of our control? Weather, assume theft, right? You assume riots, arson, right? Hurricanes, right? Weather-related things. Imagine if that occurs in your business. Are you going to recover? So going back to my initial question is most of those businesses would have been covered, like someone put in if they had coverage. So when those fires were started in Baltimore, the business was covered, right? If they had insurance, the property inside was covered. Maria, going back to your initial question, each of them have different line items for different amounts of coverages. Is your business covered? Yes. Is your loss of income covered? Yes. Why? Because the business can't open, right? Why was it shut down? Utilities could have been, right? The fire damage and you couldn't move anywhere else, your loss of income. So that's what I want everyone to consider around the next couple slides. Disaster planning for your business and simply having a business policy could really save you. The business and the damages of the office, damages to systems. And imagine if it's critical for us to have our computers to execute our businesses. What if you don't have that? It's damage. Interruption of your supply chain. That could be covered. Okay, Amanda, next slide. Here's a fact. 25% of businesses don't ever open after a major disaster. Now, I want you guys to think about this. My customer who happened to be just calling me, my customer who's up in Baltimore who owns the restaurant, she just happened to call me just to check on me. She didn't even realize that she had loss of income on her business policy. So Maria, going back to your example, she was completely out $32,000 and didn't even realize it. And we gave her a check. Why? Because it's a line that we're committing to. Remember, a business policy, just like a homeowner's, just like an auto, it's a contract between you, and I'm going to say this example, State Farm, and you, the business owner. If we've underwritten that policy, it's our contract that here's what we're going to cover you for: your business property, your liability, your loss of income, right? Theft, right? Apparel, right? Fire, apparel, right? If it was shut down, if you couldn't operate, those are things that are covered under your business policy. I mean, we obviously know if we're not selling something, the business is not going to make it. So if you can't open, you've lost. So I encourage you, protect yourself, just have a business policy, look at the rates. But most of my customers, again, I want to say, I said this up front, they're just nervous to even get a quote. It doesn't cost you anything to get a quote. I do quotes all day. We may not win the business, but at least we just, we did a quote for the customer and it gives you a roundabout what it would be. I wanted to talk about something that is very important, that every business may not be eligible for the company that you're requesting a quote for. So there are some things that State Farm, as big as we are, that we don't find eligible business that we want to write. It has nothing to do that you're in the wrong business. It has nothing to do with anything. We may not write that type of business. There are some things that State Farm we don't write. And let me give you an example. We don't write daycares. That's too risky for us. We don't do it. We don't want to be tied up in, and I'm guessing here, molestation. We don't want to be tied up into someone is going to sue State Farm because someone was molested or someone wasn't taking care of a child. They didn't change the child, or school buses. We don't write that. That's just something as a company we've chosen not to engage in that type of business. Doesn't mean that you're doing the wrong business. It's just something that we have decided or other vendors may have decided not to do. So I wanted to put that out there. Just because it may not be eligible with State Farm does not mean that another company won't write that business. Okay? But disaster planning is critically important. How can you operate your business if a disaster occurs? So for me, I have a staff of 6. I believe, right? I'm mitigating my risk when I make this statement. I'm disaster proof. Why? I have one person that works for me in Illinois full time. I have another person that works for me in Texas full time. I have a full-time person here locally in DC. She comes into the office twice a week. And I have another person that lives in Charles County who can come into office 2, 3 times a week. So if something happens here or something happens on the East Coast, my 2 West Coast and Midwest can still run the business. If this office burns down, I can boot up and work from home. So I'm challenging everyone on the call. Be nimble and flexible on how you operate your business because that's how you pay your bills. That's how you provide a living for your family. I was able to put my daughter through college because even when COVID went down, we were up and running the very next day. I hate working from home. I'm in the office today. I'm an old school. I love working from office. You guys see me in a tie today. Amanda and Sonya made me wear a tie. I normally have a bow tie on, but I don't even I enjoy work. I still enjoy coming to the office. If I would probably go crazy if I had to work from home. I just don't enjoy it. I find that I'm distracted. I find that I might start watching MSNBC. I find that I eat too much when I'm at home. It's just a bunch of stuff. I'm used to having a cup of coffee and driving and having my normal commute. So, impact to your business, a business policy can save the day. Next slide,
And
Amanda.
Adrian, before you advance
Sure,
to the
sure.
slide, 'cause I just had a question about the last bullet point on the previous slide. Amanda, if you could go back for a second, because when you are talking about impact from disruption to business and protecting against it, that last one, delay of new business, I hadn't seen that before as an option, but I can think of many, many circumstances in working with loan clients, new businesses looking to apply. Maybe they're planning to start to open by a certain date and something happens. It could be that the renovations, the build out to the lease space takes longer than intended, or permitting takes long, any
Yes,
number of things. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? Because I don't know if that kind of coverage is that widely known.
it may not be, but I would caution everybody on this. You got to prove how much money you've lost. This one, it comes back to what Maria talked about, which is critical, your financials. So the 32,000 that we gave my customer up in Baltimore, she had to prove to us by show of receipts and or tax returns and or P&L how much money she lost. I'm gonna use slang. Ain't nobody just giving money away. So I don't want anybody to be offended when someone is questioning you about your claim. If we don't have clean, and Maria, I didn't tell you, I was a former banker as well. If we don't
Right.
have clean financials, if we can't articulate where these numbers come from, if you don't have a good accounting system, you're going to be upset and frustrated because you're going to have to give that data to, I'm going to use my name, State Farm, in order to review and justify how your business being delayed and your business being shut down and how much we're going to give you back.
Absolutely. Has to be documented.
It
But for
has to be documented.
a new business who hasn't started yet, what would they do
It's
in a case like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a little tough. It might be in there, right? But it's going to be hard to prove. The delay, because you don't have any revenue at that
Right,
particular time.
right.
So it's harder to prove that. So, and everything that's in the business policy, endorsements, extended coverages may not be applicable. It's business policies are what you consider packages, right? There are a bunch of things in the policy that may not be applicable but might be applicable to me. Like for an example, here's a silly example. Signage is included, but I don't have a sign. You know where my name is listed? Downstairs. When you walk in the office, I don't have a sign, but signage is included in my office, in my business policy. So there are packages that companies put together specifically for the type of work that you're doing that might be in that industry, that environment. So everything may not be applicable to what you're doing. Okay. Again, back to disaster. I address this safety on-site, off-site, um, because I can't afford to be down because I have customers that are dependent on me that guess what? They're going to call in. They're going to make claims. They have an issue. They still need to talk to somebody. If we have an issue on the East Coast, I have 3, 4 people that are going to pick up the phone no matter where we are. And you wouldn't even know that they're not even local because I have a plan for disaster. Okay. Physically, if something happens here, I don't have a route planned out, but that might be a good idea. Um, Installing lights, I don't have to worry about that because the building that I'm in. But if if it's something that you're heavily responsible for, then you have to do that yourself. Securing your assets. This is really important. Like for me, being in this office, I have 5 desks and I have a ton of computer equipment. I would simply highly recommend everyone have an inventory of what you own. Well, why, Adrian? Because you don't want to be shorted if a claim comes up. You have it documented. You have an inventory of all of your equipment. I have computers. I have monitors. I have 6 laptops. I have 6 desks. And guess what? You might want to take pictures of it. Why? Because you don't want to have no issue with your insurance company. If they start challenging you how much something costs, you can have it already documented. And lastly, if you want to hold on to receipts, hold on to receipts. Scan it, save it on your hard drive, or save it somewhere. Like I have an inventory of all of my equipment. Now, granted, State Farm actually tracks it, but an inventory of everything, all the electronic equipment. Most of us are not connected with a big company like State Farm, and we're a small business. So I highly recommend you to create a spreadsheet to track all of your inventory. Okay. Next slide, Amanda. Plan to show how you're going to get up and running. And I'm going to use the worst thing that's hit most of us, since probably all of us on this phone, COVID. COVID devastated. We obviously lost lives, but businesses had to continue to run. You got to look at it like that. People say, oh, this will never happen to me. Well, it happened to all of us in our generation. We had to be able to you have to remain nimble and flexible to be able to relocate your business. I immediately sent all of my staff home. Why? 2 things. I didn't want to be held responsible if they contracted COVID coming into the office. Number 1, I didn't want to be liable. So I said, stay home. Number 2, we all were able to connect via the internet through our VPN to continue to work. I kept my staff home for 6 to 9 months until the vaccine was found because I didn't want to take the risk. And I ended up catching COVID myself in the office by myself. Oh, excuse me. The day that I caught COVID, I immediately told my staff to go home. When I sat in my office, I did a COVID test. I didn't even call them into the office. I instant messaged them and told them to go home. I didn't want to be held responsible if again, I'm just protecting myself. So we temporarily relocated, at home. So next slide, Amanda. So one other thing I wanted to point out is risk. What is risk? Risk is relating to the cost, right? If what I do for State Farm and just in general, I'm an insurance agent. I sit at a desk pretty much all day. That's not really high risk compared to if I'm a general contractor who is putting in electrical systems, plumbing systems. That's a whole different risk category. That policy likely is going to be more expensive than a little old insurance agent, even though I have 6 members because of the type of risk. So keep in mind the type of work you do uh, is really the outcome of the cost and the risk associated with that. So the higher risk, the more it's possibly going to cost. Okay. I'm open to any questions, any thoughts.
Adrian, I'd like to jump in with one question while folks are putting theirs in the Q&A box just to get us started, because you shared so much good information, and thank you for this. And
You're
it got me
welcome.
thinking,
So
how often should small business owners review their insurance coverage to make sure they have enough or maybe have something that they didn't get initially? What would be your recommendation around that?
listen, as often as you like, right? So first of all, it doesn't change that often, but you do need to look at it. Everyone on this call, you need to look at your insurance. I told the ladies before we started the call, insurance right now, and don't start throwing rocks before I say that. It's the second most expensive thing that we're all paying out. Across GDP, insurance is the second highest expense. Period. It's your auto insurance, it's your homeowner's insurance, it's your renter's insurance, it's your umbrella insurance. You have to check them. Sometimes, yeah, it's about a relationship. But I tell people all the time, people can love Adrian Wilcox. But guess what, Maria? If the number is not right, you ain't going to do business with me.
That tends
Period. The number has to be right. You have to balance. I would actually ask everyone to look at it annually. Now, I'll be honest with you. Most customers don't look at it. Most people don't know what you have. You don't even know, you think you might know what you have even on your homeowner's insurance, but most people don't know. I challenge everybody to do this. Go home and look at your homeowner's policy and make sure that the deductible is something that you're comfortable with. Some people have percentages on their deductibles, which means that deductible could be five, six, 700, excuse me, $7,000. Average house in the DMV is about $400 or $500, four 100,000 and more, right? If your deductible is 1%, that's 4,000. Who wants to pay out $4,000 before your insurance kicks in? Now, I know it's some wealthy millionaires on the phone here, but I don't want to pay $4,000. I see someone did ask a question, Maria, about will filing a claim increase your premium? I always answer that in two things. I think is it Elvira? Listen, I would worry about that on the back end, particularly if you got $32,000 that you are short. I would balance the two. Is it worth putting in a claim? If I was answering this if I was answering this, yes. But the real answer is it depends on what it is. With auto insurance, if it's not your fault, your rate should not go up because you really didn't cost the company anything. It was someone else's fault, right? If it's your fault or you got a ticket, 9 times out of 10, it's going to go up. See, underwriting guidelines are different for different products. Like life insurance underwriting has nothing to do with auto and home underwriting. Home underwriting has nothing to do with auto. So it depends on, as well as business. But in business, it depends on what it is. If you're losing money, or if you got if, let me, to answer this question further, if someone sued your business, your policy is going to go up, or you might even get dropped. I'm being real. If someone sues you and the company had to pay out $500,000, meaning i.e. State Farm, you might get dropped because you ain't gonna give us enough premium to pay back 500,000. Let's be real. Even if it doesn't even matter. And I know a lot of people get upset when they put in claims, but keep in mind, insurance is about not the past, it's about the future. You pay for coverage and you got a service. Again, you pay me today, Maria, you got 30 days worth of coverage,
right,
not the past. Oh,
right.
Adrian, I've been with you 20 years and I never had a claim.
Doesn't matter.
And you were covered for those 20 years. I'm being sarcastic at the same time. You were covered for those 20 years. And if you did have a claim, we would have paid that claim. So keep in mind, insurance is about that. So
Well, and Amanda, do we have time for one or two questions in the chat? I know we're sort of running close to the hour, but please let us know.
Yes. What business insurance covers if a subcontract doesn't deliver software application development and Prime becomes responsible to take the losses of technology or software project delivery?
That's a great question. I would advise two things. You need to make sure they have insurance. So if you have a subcontract, if I'm the prime and you have people under you, they need to have insurance. That's your number one way to ensure that you're going to get covered, because you can file a claim against their policy. Okay. It's the same thing it's a subcontractor. A subcontractor is a subcontractor. Make sure that the subcontractor has insurance, because they now have put your business at risk or put that deliverable at risk. So that's the number one. With State Farm, I can speak to State Farm. It depends on, first of all, I would have asked a lot of questions before I wrote this policy. Reason why is if some of that is related to the government, we wouldn't write it. If it's related to defense or military, we wouldn't write that business. Doesn't mean that we don't write this kind of business. It means if it's specific in nature. Insurance is specific and detailed, everyone. And I'm going to say this to everybody. Please don't lie to your insurance agent like Adrian. I can't help you. If you tell me you're doing one thing and you're really doing something else, you're putting yourself at risk, and, I'm not going to let you put me at risk. I'm going to ask for you to be dropped. Let me give you guys an example. I wrote a customer a year and a half ago. He told me he had a retail store in DC. I won't name the business. He called me 3 weeks ago and he said, "Hey, Adrian, we've been approved for medical marijuana." I said, "Ain't this something? You know what? That is completely ineligible." He never told me he was even applying for medical marijuana. So he put me in a bind. Now I'm going to make a business decision. We dropped him. That's ineligible within State Farm. Not the retail business, but if you're doing something that's not eligible, that's why it's great to have a relationship with your agent or your insurance company. I'm the agent in this case. Like, lying is not gonna work. And I would say this, and I'm not saying anybody on this phone does it. That's why I'm just saying it in a more positive way. Please be honest with the agent. If they can't write the business, I would tell a customer if I can't write the business, because I don't want to put you at risk. And it's extremely important. I'm a business owner. I would not want to put you at risk. If we can't write it, I'm going to tell you.
Awesome. Jaquette wants to know,
Mhm.
she has two questions. One, can we switch agents if we currently have home and auto coverage and want to work with a different agent? And then the second question is, are there any bundles for home, car, and business?
Great question. Yes, I would say I'm looking away because I shouldn't say this, but you can transfer to anyone that you're comfortable with. State Farm, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I'll tell this to any agent. And it's not that I feel like I'm stealing people's customer. Customers have a choice, right? We all have a choice, for an example, to be on this call today. And some people you don't want to work with. And let me just reverse it. If a customer doesn't want to do business with Adrian Wilcox, I would advise you to go to another agent. Why? Because I want to sleep well every night. Maria, if you and I had an issue, I don't want to take your money. That's number one. You have the ability to transfer going onto your State Farm portal, and you can select a different agent if you choose to. The second part of your question to answer is yes and no. You describe personal lines. Auto and home is our personal lines. If you bundle those together, yes, you get a discount. Business policies are not discounted, even if you have all three. I have many customers, I have their personal lines and their business lines. The business lines are not discounted. They're very reasonable. They're very good prices, particularly professional services. Professional services are very reasonable. You would be, honestly, am I overselling this? You would be shocked sometimes how much business policies I wrote a business policy for a development company just last week. It was less than $300 for the whole year. Now, come on, anybody on this call, you can't afford $300 to protect your business?
Mhm.
Crickets.
Like a
Okay.
good friend.
That's how cheap it can be. That's how cheap it can be, though.
Okay, one more question for Mercedita. She wants to know, in reference to money and securities, does that cover phishing scams or digital crime?
Both. Could be both. Well, fishing, huh? Fishing, huh? I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know. What I would do for you is, I would ask claims before uh, if you were my customer, say, hey, let me call claims and let me find out, right? I know that in banking, some of that is covered, but in insurance, it may not be covered. So that's a great question. I've never heard that question. I'm glad you asked. Makes me want to ask claims, with something like that be covered? So before you, if that was an issue, and again, I can only think about the State Farm model. I have access to calling claims and access to calling underwriters to say, is that something that's covered? That's one of the advantages of, pat myself on the back, right? Being a State Farm agent, I have access to those people. I don't make claims decisions. I don't want to oversell anything. I don't make claims decisions, but I can speak to them and ask, is something covered? Here's the key: before you put in a claim, because who would want to put a claim in and hopefully, and it gets declined, or if it's not covered? That's the beauty of having a State Farm agent. I'm willing to do that for my customers. I'll call before my customer has to call and do a claim, which is why I gave everybody my cell phone number. I have no problem picking up phones from my customers. They're supporting me, so who am I not to support them? That's just my mantra.
And Adrian, thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for today. You shared so much good information and gave, I think, all of us a lot of things to think about. You gave a homework assignment, didn't you? We can all go back and look at our deductibles on even on our homeowners policies. So thank you all so much for this and for your presentation. And everyone, next week we are going to have Randall Nixon, who is the CEO and General Counsel of Amply Hearthstone. When the I in B.A.I.L next week will stand for not insurance as this week, but for investment options. So we certainly will look forward to having you all join us again at lunchtime next Wednesday. And Sonya, we'll turn it back to you to wrap us up.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much, both of you, for Maria, for moderating such a great session. And Adrian, let me just say, those examples that you shared throughout this presentation was very real and relevant, and we appreciate that with our subject matter expertise, because we understand that you've probably seen a lot of different situations come your way, and that certainly came through. And I'll just put in an additional comment, as Maria indicated. Adrian has provided this great informative presentation. He is available if you'd like to reach out to him to get a quote, to ask some additional follow-up questions. He may prove to be a very, very good resource for you as you're looking at protecting and mitigating any risk in your business. So thank you both for being here, and thank you both for this great presentation. So everyone, we're about a few minutes before we close. And I would like to thank you all for joining us today. As a reminder, the presentation and the recording will be sent to everyone who registered within 24 to 48 hours. We hope that you enjoy the content, as I said, provided by Mr. Wilcox with State Farm today. He's not our Jake from State Farm. He's our Adrian from State Farm. And next week, grab a beverage, your lunch, and a snack again, and join us for a conversation with our featured investor and funding guru. Let me tell you, Mr. Randall Nixon, CEO and General Counsel with Amply Hearthstone, is our go-to whenever we're trying to identify capital and various sources of capital for our business owners. And we certainly want you to meet him and learn a little bit more about his business and what he does for small business owners across the region. Until next week, remember that the best time to shore up your business foundation or seek capital is when you don't need to. So preparation will always be key. Onward and upward, and have a good afternoon, everyone.